Let me start today's lecture. In the previous class, I introduce you about the concept of state variable, the concept of state variable. Okay, I introduce you the concept of state variable, and also before introducing that one, I have concluded the only theory topic under unit 5, that is the compensation. Let me clear all of you. What is compensation? You are going to add or modify additional components, add or modify additional components, adding the additional components or modifying the existing components, to get proper output is known as what? Compensation. To get proper output is known as what? Compensation. And what is the need of compensation? And whenever it is not working, when the existing product what you purchased is not working, there are two cases of going with compensation: not working or working with poor performance. It is working but poor performance. అంటే మీ దగ్గర ఒక 2-wheeler వెహికల్ ఉంది అనుకో, సపోజ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ గివింగ్ ఓన్లీ 10 కిలోమీటర్ మైలేజ్, 10 కిలోమీటర్ పర్ అవర్, సారీ 10 కిలోమీటర్ పర్ లీటర్ మైలేజ్. ఇప్పుడు లీటర్ 100 రూపీస్ పెట్రోల్ కాస్ట్ అనుకుంటే, సో ఇఫ్ యూ ఆర్ గెటింగ్ ఓన్లీ 10 రూపీస్ 10 కిలోమీటర్ ఫర్ 100 రూపీస్ మీన్స్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎ వెరీ ఎక్స్పెన్సివ్. Of course your vehicle is working but poor performance it is giving. So hence we won't use the products in two cases. One obviously not working, and the other one is, of course it is working but it is giving poor performance. In these two cases we won't use that particular product. If you are not using that particular product, so then you need to replace. So rather than replacing, one option is there. I told you already, there is the compensation. In compensation, we will repair the system. By adding additional components or repairing the existing one, to get you the product as working with proper output. That is known as what? Compensation. And now what is state variable concept means? So starting from unit 1 to unit 4, we learn about only transfer function. And all of you are aware what is transfer function? It gives the ratio of what? Output by input. So it means that from the transfer function, you are going to get the relationship between final output and initial input. But in the previous class, clearly I mentioned you that in any particular system, it is having sub inputs and sub outputs. So the information related to sub inputs and sub outputs does not know using transfer function. By using this concept of state variable, what is concept of state variable means? It gives the complete information of each and every variable in a particular system. It means that suppose for example, if you consider your electrical circuit like this, I am taking the same example what I had taken in the previous classes. Suppose you are having electrical circuit like this. Let this is V0 and this is Vin. So your transfer function will give the relationship between V0 and Vin. It does not give you what is the current flowing through R1, what is the voltage through R2, What is the current and voltage flowing through R3, R4 and then R5? It does not know. What is the current loop current I1? What is the value of loop current I2? Etc. There are different variables exist here, really. So I1, I2, and then V1, V2, V3, V4, V5. Okay, like this. So all this information does not given by your transfer function. Only you will get the relationship between initial input and final output. Final output. That is known as what transfer function concept. But knowing complete information of all the variables is known as what state variables. State variables, that what we discussed in the previous class. Now coming to today's class, rather than spending, I have spent maximum time to introduce you this state variable concept. So the rest of the time within this class, I will try to directly go to the problems. So new terms before going for problems is one is state, another one is state variable, okay, another one is state vector, and another one is state space. So what is state means the current situation, current position is known as what state. Okay, suppose at present I am speaking, so my current state is lecturing and your current state is listening. Okay, in the same way, so each and every moment of time, everyone is having its own state. So that moment of time is known as what state, and that group of moments is known as what state variable. State variable. So you the student x1 is the one state variable. Suppose 401. 401 is the student with so I can treat that 401 is a state variable, one state variable. So దీంట్లో ఏమంటారంటే 401 లో by birth to till now all the information will be stored in the form of states in this particular state variable x1. Suppose 402. So 402 is another state variable x2. 402 is another state variable. 403 another state variable. సో ఇలా 3 నెంబర్స్ ఉన్నాయి అనుకోండి, ఇలా మీ క్లాస్లో మొత్తం 60 మెంబర్స్ ఉన్న ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అంతా గ్రూప్ చేస్తే దట్ ఈస్ నోన్ యాజ్ స్టేట్ వెక్టర్. సో స్టేట్ వెక్టర్ విల్ గివ్ ద ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ ద స్టూడెంట్స్ ఇన్ దిస్ పర్టికులర్ సెక్షన్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ స్టేట్స్. అండ్ వాట్ ఈస్ స్టేట్ స్పేస్ మీన్స్ గ్రూప్ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్ వెక్టర్స్, అంటే ఓవరాల్ కాలేజీలో ఉన్న అందరి స్టూడెంట్స్, అందరి సెక్షన్, ఆల్ సెక్షన్స్ ఏబిసి అండ్ ఆల్ ఇయర్స్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అంతా ఎక్కడ ఉంటుంది, ఈ స్టేట్ స్పేస్ మీన్స్ గ్రూప్ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్ వెక్టర్స్ ఆర్ నోన్ యాజ్ వాట్ స్టేట్ స్పేస్. So simply what is state? Current state, current movement of that particular dynamic system. And what is state variable? A group of information of that particular variable, of that particular variable. I am saying of that particular variable is known as what state variable. Ilanti group of state variables are known as a state vector, and group of state vectors are known as what state space. That we discussed. Now here, as your first topic here, we will solve in this problem. In this class totally 5 topics are there. Each class takes only one class, so hence overall 5 classes are required to complete this syllabus. So enta slow cheppina only 5 classes is required. It means that by the end of this week I can complete this syllabus, I can complete this unit, complete control system syllabus, so within a slow manner. So let me first explain you how to represent this state model. So అది థియరిటికల్లీ నేను ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేసినాను. నౌ ఇఫ్ యూ అబ్జర్వ్ దిస్ మై స్లైడ్ హియర్, స్టేట్ స్పేస్ రిప్రజెంటేషన్ ఆర్ స్టేట్ మోడల్ రిప్రజెంటేషన్, యువర్ ఫస్ట్ ప్రాబ్లమాటిక్ టాపిక్. సో ఇన్ జనరల్, సో రిమెంబర్ ఆల్ ఆఫ్ యూ, ఆర్ ఈజ్ ద రెసిస్టెన్స్. ఆర్ డిఫరెన్స్ బిట్వీన్ ఆర్ అండ్ కెపాసిటర్ అబ్జర్వ్ చేస్తాను. సో ఐ కెన్ సే ఆర్ ఈజ్ ఏ స్టాటిక్ వేరియబుల్ అండ్ సి ఈజ్ ఏ డైనమిక్ వేరియబుల్. Dynamic variable. Static variable, dynamic variable means with respect to time, the magnitude of this dynamic variable will change. And static variable with irrespective of time, its magnitude is always same. Magnitude, suppose for example you applied some voltage. Then the current flowing through this particular one is always same. మీరు 10 AM కి ఏం కరెంట్ అప్లై చేస్తే సాయంత్రం 5 AM కూడా అదే కరెంట్ ఉంటుంది. బట్ ఇఫ్ యూ కన్సిడర్ ద కెపాసిటర్, బ్యాటరీ అనుకున్నాం, మీ మొబైల్ ఫోన్ బ్యాటరీ, 0% ఛార్జ్ ఉంది. సో మీరు ప్లగ్ కనెక్ట్ చేస్తే సో విత్ ద ఇంక్రీజ్ ఆఫ్ టైమ్ ద లెవెల్ ఆఫ్ ద వోల్టేజ్ అండ్ కరెంట్ ఇన్ ద బ్యాటరీ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు ఇంక్రీజ్ ఫ్రమ్ 0% to up to 100%. So it means that I can treat that the capacitor is having dynamic behavior. A dynamic behavior లేనప్పుడు మీ బ్యాటరీ పొద్దున ఛార్జింగ్ పెడితే సాయంత్రం వరకు కూడా 0% ఉంటుంది. డైనమిక్ బిహేవియర్ ఉంది కాబట్టి ఇట్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు ఛార్జ్ and then if you want to unplug it is going to discharge. So I can treat that in electrical terms. So R is a static behavior and L and capacitor are having dynamic behavior. Inductor lo kuda it does not allow sudden changes of change in current, hence I can say your inductor is also a dynamic behavior property. Energy will be is equal to half Li square. So based upon the value of L, the energy stored in the inductor is given by that one, and based upon the time factor the energy can be dissipated. And in the case of you can assume, you can observe practically in your mobile phone battery as we are using nowadays. So that is the case in case of batteries. So hence what I find before going for problems, I am let me clear to all of you that so this state variable study can be done only for what? Dynamic systems. Can be dynamic systems. ఎందుకంటే డైనమిక్ సిస్టమ్స్ మాత్రమే టైంని బట్టి చేంజ్ అవుతుంటుంది. కాన్స్టెంట్ బిహేవియర్ ఉన్న దానికి స్టడీ చేయాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. వై మీన్స్ ఈ రోజు ఏ మూమెంట్ ఉంది అంటే రేపు కూడా అదే మూమెంట్ ఉంటుంది, ఎల్లుండి కూడా అదే మూమెంట్ ఉంటుంది, అవతల ఎల్లుండి కూడా అదే మూమెంట్ ఉంటుంది. మూమెంట్ మీన్స్ ఇట్స్ స్టేట్, ఇట్స్ స్టేట్, కాన్స్టెంట్ స్టేట్ ఉంటుంది. So this is not a dynamic static behavior ఉన్న systems ki there is no need to study the concept of state variable. ఎందుకంటే its state is does not change. State change avunappudu for every instant of a time it is having constant value, hence you won't get any state variable for static variables. So this point you need to remember here. So we are going to study the behavior of a system having dynamic property. Electrical engineering lo L and C both are having dynamic behavior property. Now let me clear all this data. Now let me explain clearly about before going for problems I am considering a system, a dynamic system. D square y by ikkada rasthanam malli d square d power 3 third order varaku తీసుకున్నాము. So d power 3y అంటే how many inductors are there? 3 inductors ఉంటాయని అర్థం, or 3 capacitors. అది గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి. dt 3 plus a1 into d square y by dt square plus a2 into dv by dt plus a3 into y is equal to u, where here y means output and u means input. So the ratio of y by u will gives you the transfer function. But in addition to that one, I need the information of each and every variable, that is y dash, y double dash, y triple dash, like this. So it means that hence what here I am assuming here is I am assuming dy by dt is equal to y dot, which is equal to x1 dot, which is also equal to I am assuming x2. So let d square y by dt square is equal to y2 dot, and which is equal to x2 dot, or which is also equal to x3. So dy 3 by dt power 3 is equal to y3 dots, which is also equal to x3 dot, which is also equal to actually x4, or let I can write x3 dot is also equal to, from this expression I can write d q by dt is equal to minus a1 into d square y and y double dot plus minus a2 into y dot minus a3 into y plus u, or further I can write here as y3 dot is equal to x3 dot is equal to minus a1 into y double dot, I assumed here as y double dot here is x2 dot, or it is equal to x3 minus a2 into y dot is equal to x1 dot, or it is also equal to x2 minus a3 into y is equal to x1, which is equal to a plus u. So from this data, if you represent those things in matrix form, If you represent those things in matrix form, then x1 dot, x2 dot, x3 dot, three equations can be represented as what I assumed here. X1 dot is equal to m, x1 dot is equal to x2, and similarly, what about x2 dot? X2 dot is equal to x3 number. Number. What are those things we will discuss later. So just observe how I am writing. I am writing the so what I told you. What is state model representation? State model representation means writing. I can write. I can write the state model representation means so what I can say here is writing the equations into matrix form is known as what? State model representation. What is this matrix means? It gives the information of each and every state of each state variable. Each state variable. If it is a one row matrix, it gives you the information of some 401. If it is a 2 by 2 matrix, it gives the information of 401 and then 402, like this. So each row indicates each row of a matrix indicates the information related to that particular variable with respect to time. T is equal to 0 to t is equal to infinity. Suppose 401 అనే నంబర్ ఉన్నాడు. వాడు ఏమా వాడు what is that from date of birth to till time. Each complete information అనేది పేరెంట్స్ కి ఉంటుంది. సో పేరెంట్స్ ఈజ్ హ్యావింగ్ ద ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఆఫ్ వాట్ this 401 వేరియబుల్. అదేవిధంగా 402 అనే మనిషి వాడు so this student information is also having the information of all his information is available with his parents, available with the parents of 402 from date of birth to till. So this parent means I can say here is 402 is a state variable. 402 is the state variable which second row lo meer represent cheste the data will represent the information related to 402 by birth to till. So like this ade vidhanga 403 404 itla represent cheste this will form a n by n matrix where each row indicates the information of each variable. So ante what is this state model representative means first మనం ఏం నేర్చుకుంటాం అంటే ఈక్వేషన్ రాసి ఈక్వేషన్ నుంచి మ్యాట్రిక్స్ రూపంలో కన్వర్ట్ చేస్తే దట్ ఈస్ నోన్ యాజ్ స్టేట్ మోడల్. అది ఫస్ట్ పార్ట్స్ ఈ క్లాస్లో కన్క్లూడ్ అవుతుంది. సో let me go with this first problem here. To conclude this one. So if you observe this one, so y is equal to so hence if you write the expression in matrix form, then this matrix can be represented as x1 dot, as it is a 3 by d power 3 కాబట్టి x1 dot, x2 dot and x3 dot is equal to, according to those three equations, this is the matrix. And of course I assume y is equal to x1. Here in this given equation there are three dynamic variables, d square, d power 3 and dy. Hence I can write y is equal to x this matrix 1 0 0 into x1 matrix. If you equation ki matrix rupamlo raste this one. So hence these two representations can be further I can write here as x dot is equal to ax plus bu, where x dot is equal to a column matrix x1 dot, x2 dot, x3 dot, and a is a 3 by 3 matrix, and x is once again a column matrix x1, x2 and x3, and u is the unity input variable. Ante vidhanga y output matrix y can be written as cx plus du. So as here in this output expression y there is no input variable, hence I can write here as this one plus as 0. So only the available variable is x1 kabatti you can write this matrix is 1 0 and then 0 0 0. So here is the representation of this state model representation. Here there is no procedure to solve the problems, hence just writing the equation and convert into matrix form. So hence directly I will jump to the first problem. Here this is your first problem. So you observe this first problem. He has asked you to find out the state variables, and he has asked you to assume I and v naught are the state variables. In general ga gurtu pettukodamma, in general ga ఏ సర్క్యూట్ అయినా తీసుకోండి, there are number of variables ఉంటాయని మీకు అందరికీ తెలుసు. Now if you observe this electrical circuit, once again I will redraw here for the sake of students. So here R, L, C, how many variables in general? V in and then V naught, and then I can write the voltage across resistance, the voltage across inductance and the voltage of capacitors, and next the current flowing through resistance, the current flowing through inductor and the current flowing through capacitor. These are the totally 8 variables. The 8 variables lo మీరు state model represent చేయాలంటే you will get 8 by 8 matrix. You will get 8 by 8 matrix. Hence in the examination he will give you the state variables. He will be giving you the state variables. Now in this problem he has given, he has asked you to find out the state variable for by assuming V naught and I. Let me take a empty page to solve this particular first problem. So he has given like this. So V in R, L and C, V naught, I. So by observation there are three variables are there by observation from the given thing, but actually there will be number of variables, but in this problem he has asked you to represent state model and assuming V naught and I are the state variables. V naught and I are the state variables. So here solution here is, I will solve here. So first step is given data. So in the given data, what he has given? He has given V naught and I are the state variables. If you observe clearly the question, V naught and I are the state variables. So hence let me assume here x1 is my first state variable. Number ఇస్తున్నాను ఎట్లా ఒక ఫస్ట్ స్టూడెంట్ ఆఫ్ ద క్లాస్ కి మనం రోల్ నెంబర్ ఎలా ఇచ్చినామో అదే విధంగా ఇక్కడ కూడా ఒక నంబర్ ఇస్తున్నానమ్మా. ఐఎమ్ అజ్యూమింగ్ ఐ నీడ్ టు ఫైండ్ అవుట్ ద ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ ఐ వేరియబుల్. ఓకే, సపోజ్ ఇప్పుడు ఏదైనా కాలేజీలో సంథింగ్ జరిగింది అనుకోండి, క్రైమ్ జరిగినప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తారు పోలీస్ వాళ్ళు వచ్చి, మొత్తం 300 మంది స్టూడెంట్స్ ఉన్నారు, 300 మంది స్టూడెంట్స్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ గ్యాదర్ ఏం చేయరు. వాళ్ళు ఏం చేస్తారు, దగ్గరలో ఎవరు అనుమానంగా ఉంటే వాళ్ళ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ మాత్రమే వాళ్ళు గ్యాదర్ చేస్తారు. అదేవిధంగా ఇక్కడ క్వశ్చన్లో అన్ని వేరియబుల్స్, ఇక్కడ వి ఉంది, వి నాట్, ఐ, ఆర్, ఇంకా సబ్ వేరియబుల్స్ కూడా ఉంటాయి. అన్ని ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్స్ నాకు అవసరం లేదు. హి హాజ్ ఆస్క్డ్ యూ టు గెట్ ద మ్యాథమెటికల్ రిలేషన్షిప్ between for these two variables only. So let I am assuming the first variable as x1, which is equal to I naught or I అనుకుంటున్నాను. I, and next x2 is the second variable, which is equal to v naught, which is equal to what? V naught. So which implies I can write here as x1 dot can also be equal to, if x1 is I, then x1 dot will be equal to first order differential, that is di by dt. Okay, and what about x2? X2 dot is equal to dv naught by dt. That is my first step. Now, so it means that what is the state model? State model means you need to represent the given circuit in this format. X dot is equal to AX plus BU, where all are matrices. That is your representation of your state model. So hence ante ikkada emundamma, I need to write one expression to get the matrix. Two variables kabatti 2 by 2 matrix vastadi. I need to get an expression, mathematical expression for di by dt, and one more equation I need to get for dv naught by dt. So to get the expression for di by dt, how I can write the expression for di by dt means I'm having an inductor like this. So all of you are aware that there will be a formula for inductor as L into di by dt. What is this one? This is equal to voltage. Voltage ki expression rahalante, what I will do here is I will apply KVL for this particular loop. Then you will get a V in is equal to I into R plus L into di by dt plus, so directly you can write the expression 1 by c into integration of I dt. As we are not solving anything, directly I will write V naught. V naught. From this expression I can go for this one as di by dt is equal to di by dt is equal to V in by L minus R by L into I minus 1 by L into V naught. We will present this one as equation 1. Now I need one more equation for dV naught by dt. How I can get the expression for V naught dV naught by dt? All of you are aware that the current flowing through capacitor can be written as I is equal to M Rayachama C into dV naught by dt. So which implies you can write the expression for dV naught by dt as dV naught by dt is equal to M Rayachama 1 by C into I. Equation 2. Equation 2. Now replacing. Now your next step is now replacing now the next step will be after getting this one on replacing the equation 1 and 2 with the state variables x1 and x2. Then you will get two new equations. What are the two new equations? What are the two new equations? One equation you will get as equation 1 implies x1 dot is equal to x1 dot is equal to M Rayachama minus R by L into x1 minus 1 by L into x2 plus 1 by L into V in అంటే ఇన్పుట్ కాబట్టి డైరెక్ట్లీ U. ఈక్వేషన్ 3. అదేవిధంగా వాట్ అబౌట్ ద ఈక్వేషన్ 4? వాట్ అబౌట్ ఈక్వేషన్ 4? Your second equation will imply x2 dot is equal to this ikkade rastanam x2 dot is equal to what you will get here 1 by c into x1. Equation 4. So representing this equation 3 and 4 in matrix form will give you the final answer. That is your state model representation. So I am just representing those two equations in matrix form. X1 dot x2 dot is equal to x1 x2 plus this one into U. Now if you write those two equations, so what you will get here? So x1 dot is equal to m minus R by L minus 1 by L, and here there is a U కాబట్టి 1 by L, and for x2 dot it is equal to 1 by L 1 by C, sorry 1 by C 0 and here 0. So ఇక్కడ congested ఉంది, ఇక్కడ మళ్ళా 1 second రాస్తానమ్మా. You got two equations. One is x1 dot is equal to minus R by L into x1 minus 1 by L into x2 plus 1 by L into U. So one more equation is x2 dot is equal to 1 by C into x1. Representing those equation in matrix form, you will get x1 dot x2 dot in matrix form is your state model representation is equal to Input ki I am writing separate. So if you represent those equations, first row will be minus R by L, second row is minus 1 by L, and the third row is 1 by L. In the same way, x1 is 1 by C 0, and then here this is 0. So this is known as what your state model. X dot is equal to AX plus BU is your state model representation for the given electrical circuit. What he has given the electrical circuit? An R, L and C. For this electrical circuit, he has asked you to determine its state variable, state model representation. If you observe here, he has asked you to consider I and V naught are the state variables. ఎందుకంటే ఈ రెండు వేరియబుల్సే టైంని బట్టి చేంజ్ అవుతాయి అమ్మా. ద వోల్టేజ్ అక్రాస్ resistance or the voltage current flowing through resistance is not dynamic. The voltage across inductor is also not dynamic, but the current flowing through this inductor is a dynamic. ఎందుకంటే L into di by dt వస్తుంది. And similarly for capacitor, the voltage across so the current flowing through capacitor is the only the dynamic variable, but not the voltage. Hence, the variable can be treated as dV naught by dt is a dynamic behavior. Hence, you need to consider capacitors ante ఇది రెండు. అంటే ఓవరాల్ గా ఉన్న వేరియబుల్స్ లో ఏది డైనమిక్ బిహేవియర్ ఉన్నాయో అవి మాత్రమే దానికి మాత్రమే యూ కెన్ ఏబుల్ టు స్టడీ ద ఇట్స్ స్టేట్ వేరియబుల్ కాన్సెప్ట్. ఎందుకంటే స్టాటిక్ వేరియబుల్స్ ఐ టోల్డ్ యూ క్లియర్లీ, స్టాటిక్ వేరియబుల్స్ కి డైనమిక్ బిహేవియర్ రాదు. ఎందుకంటే what is the state model representation? Left hand side it is x dot ante d by dt, that is the dynamic behavior. So ఏ దానికి డైనమిక్ బిహేవియర్ ఉంది అంటే దానికి మాత్రమే యూ కెన్ ఏబుల్ టు రైట్ ద ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్. సో వోల్టేజ్ రెసిస్టెన్స్ కి యూ విల్ గెట్ డైరెక్ట్లీ V is equal to I into R. ఆల్ ఆర్ వాట్ స్టాటిక్ బిహేవియర్, సో ఎన్నైనా వేరియబుల్స్ ఉన్నాయి, ఏది డైనమిక్ బిహేవియర్ ఉంటే వాళ్ళకి మాత్రమే మనము ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ చేస్తాం. నౌ ఇన్ దిస్ ప్రాబ్లమ్ there are two variables which are dynamic. One is I, another one is V naught. For those two things we have written the equations by using KVL or KCL, and then writing those equations in matrix form will give you the state model representation. So it's a two-step procedure. First is first step is assume or ఇచ్చింటాడు assume state variables. ఏ వేరియబుల్స్ గురించి ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ కావాలంటే అది మాత్రమే మనం ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ చేస్తాం. Then next write the equations and next convert into matrix form. In these three steps of procedure we will solve the problems. As based upon type factor, only one problem I have solved. In the next class I will go with number of problems based upon the time factor to conclude this first topic, that is the representation of state model representation, including all types of model. Here is the end of my today's class. So overall conclusion of today's class is, in this particular class I just given you brief idea what happened in the previous classes. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, now after that initial 10 minutes I just explained you what happened in the previous classes, that is about your compensation. Okay, and also the state model representation, the theory concept. After that I directly jump to your first problem. So in your first problem, I consider an electrical circuit like this electrical circuit. In this electrical circuit, in the given question itself, he has asked you to find out the state model by assuming V naught and I are the state variable. V naught and I are the state variables consider చేస్తే ఫస్ట్ స్టెప్ ఏం లేదమ్మా, you assume the first variable as x1. ఎందుకు ఇది x1 x2 x3 వాడుతున్నానంటే, ఇప్పుడు ఎలక్ట్రికల్ సిస్టమ్ అంటే మనకు వేరియబుల్ టర్మ్స్ వోల్టేజ్ అండ్ కరెంట్ వస్తాయి. కానీ మెకానికల్ సిస్టమ్ అనుకోండి, వేరియబుల్స్ అక్కడ ఫోర్స్ డిస్ప్లేస్మెంట్స్ అవి ఉంటాయి. డిస్ప్లేస్మెంట్స్ ఆర్ యాంగులర్ డిస్ప్లేస్మెంట్స్ ఆర్ వెలాసిటీ, ఓకే, అవి దట్ విల్ బి కన్సిడర్ యాజ్ స్టేట్ వేరియబుల్స్. అంటే ఏదైనా కానీ సిస్టమ్ మీరు డిజైన్ చేస్తే ఆ కాంపోనెంట్స్లో ఏది డైనమిక్ ఉంటే ఆ వేరియబుల్స్ స్టేట్ వేరియబుల్స్గా కన్సిడర్ చేస్తాం కాబట్టి. కానీ ఇక్కడ మనము అందుకే కంట్రోల్ సిస్టమ్ ఈజ్ నాట్ ఏ జనరలైజ్డ్ సబ్జెక్ట్, ఇట్ ఏ సింగిల్ సబ్జెక్ట్ రిలేటెడ్ టు ఓన్లీ ఎలక్ట్రికల్ ఆర్ ఎలక్ట్రానిక్స్ ఆర్ కమ్యూనికేషన్. ఇట్స్ ఏ జనరలైజ్డ్ సబ్జెక్ట్ కాబట్టి వీఆర్ అజ్యూమింగ్ వన్ నోటేషన్స్ ఫర్ x1 x2 x3 లైక్ ది. ఎలా మీకు రోల్ నెంబర్స్ ఎలా అలాట్ చేస్తున్నారో 401, 402, 403 లైక్ దిస్. ఏదో మీ నేమ్స్ సపరేట్ ఉన్నాయి, మీ ఇనిషియల్ నేమ్స్ సపరేట్ ఉన్నాయి, అది అలాగే పెట్టవచ్చు కదా అని మనకు డౌట్ రావచ్చు. కానీ ఇన్ ఆర్డర్ టు మేక్ అన్ యూనిక్ ఐడెంటిటీ we assume a roll number as 0401, 0402, 0403 like this. అదే విధంగా here also we are assuming one x denotation which represents one variable. అది వోల్టేజ్ అయినా కావచ్చు, కరెంట్ అయినా కావచ్చు. ఈ ప్రాబ్లంలో 2 వేరియబుల్స్ ఇచ్చినాడు. ఫస్ట్ x1 అనేది నేను i కి అజంప్షన్ చేస్తున్నాను, x2 అనేది v0 కి అజంప్షన్ చేస్తున్నాను. సో ఇక్కడ ఏం, వాట్ ఈస్ ద ఎయిమ్ ఆఫ్ టాస్క్, వాట్ ఈస్ ద ఎయిమ్, యూ నీడ్ టు రైట్ ద ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్ టు గెట్ di by dt, యూ నీడ్ టు గెట్ అనదర్ ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్ టు గెట్ dv0 by dt. సో ఎన్ని వేరియబుల్స్ ఉంటే అన్ని ఈక్వేషన్స్ వస్తాయి, అన్ని ఆర్డర్ ఆఫ్ ద మ్యాట్రిక్స్ వస్తుంది. సో ఇక 2 వేరియబుల్స్ ఉంటే అక్కడ di by dt రావాలంటే ఐ షుడ్ గో ఫర్ అప్లైయింగ్ కేవీఎల్ అప్లై చేసి ఇది రాసి ఐ జస్ట్ రీఅరేంజ్ ద టర్మ్స్ టు గెట్ di by dt. అదేవిధంగా టు గెట్ dv0 by dt I have written the expression for current flowing through capacitor. With that I am getting the second equation. Now replacing the first 2 equations with the x1 and x2, then you will get these 2 equations, that is equation 3 and then equation 4. And the last step I told you that after getting the equation 3 and 4, represent those equations in matrix form, then that will gives you the complete state model. Okay, now by solving more number of problems in the next class, I will conclude this first concept, that is the concept of state variable, in the next class. Here is the end of my class. Thank you very much. You can log out. My class is over. You can log out.